All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Word with Ty Brownlow. I am your host, Ty Brownlow, and remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I have a special guest for you. Please welcome Miss Debra, Renee, Byrd.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you. You know, I like what we're going to talk about today because I think when we think about the future sometimes and, the stories that are told, I always ask myself, are we represented in the future?
Yeah.
Because if everything we're going through today, as a people, okay, man, we have all types of, things that's going on with us internally and externally. How's the future going to look? So I know people are probably like, Ty, I don't understand, what's going on, why are you talking about all this? Well, people, the reason why I'm talking about all this is we have an author here, okay, with us today, but not just any type of author now, all right? Okay, we're talking about fantasy, science fiction. Trust me, I love my Star Trek, I love my Star Wars, I love all that good stuff, but sometimes I wonder, man, look here, I like Billy D. Williams, but man, he was the only black guy in the future that I saw as a kid. So I'm like, well, man, am I going to be Billy D in the future? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So many issues here, but we're going to get past that. First of all, thank you for coming onto the platform today. And,
you're welcome.
Oh, as I said before, man, black sci-fi and fantasy, okay? So we're going to get right into it.
All right.
So my first question to you would be, you have a book out now, okay?
Yes.
It's the second edition, but it's called Fractured Princess. Can you give us just a brief overview of your book?
Yeah, well, Fractured Princess is a young adult fantasy about this princess. Her people were destroyed when she was a baby by this metal army that came. And so she was sent away to be protected by a group of watchmen until they could figure out how to stop the army. And as the story starts, she's 17. She's getting to a point where she realizes that she wants to fight alongside her watchmen. So it almost starts as a kind of a journey story to help her train how to do that. And along the way, as she's learning more about her people, she's starting to understand how it's all leading back to her. So the army there's a reason that they're trying to find her, and it's the big part of the story. So I'm trying not to give it away, but yeah.
No.
Essentially, yeah.
But no, well, you know what? I find it interesting because it's, as you said, she wants to fight along, she wants to fight with the watchmen, against, people that are coming in to destroy, and I like it, I like concepts like that because there's always a plot twist. There's always some type of connection that you got to make the two, together or what have you. So let me just ask, how long did it take you to write and publish this?
The writing part took about, I started it in 2004. The first draft, I hit the end about 2011. So after a few drafts and revisions, I would say close to the 10-year mark. And then I started trying to query for traditional publishing. And it wasn't until, enough rejections and stuff, I decided to self-publish it in 2019. So overall, a 15-year process.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That is a process.
Yeah.
But, you sort of hit on some key things right there in that last part you said that we're going to talk about later on, a couple of questions down. But okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So, but now let me just ask, how long have you actually been writing?
I've been writing almost my entire life. From the time I could read, I was writing.
Wow.
So yeah, I think I started my first, not real book, my first story was I was 7.
Okay. All right. Well, just real quick, Do you remember what the story was about, or like?
Yeah, actually, it was a goofy little story because you're a first grader. So, they handed us a blank book, and I just wrote this kind of fake autobiography or fake biography about my older sister. Oh. So it's just little drawings about her and.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Hey, look, ain't nothing wrong with that. I hope there wasn't nothing bad or anything. Like,
no.
No. Okay, all right, cool. So now let me ask about influences, because as I said before, just me, myself as a kid growing up, like when I think about science fiction, fantasy, I watch shows like the original Lost in Space in black and white. Not when it first came out. This is reruns, y'all. I'm not that copy now. Okay. But like Star Trek, Star Wars, things of that nature, Battlestar Galactica,
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been watching like a lot of stuff, my whole life. But like, what type of influences did you have? Like, were there certain authors that you gravitated towards, TV shows, movies growing up that steered you into sci-fi fantasy?
Yeah, actually, and when I started writing, I wasn't even doing fantasy. I'm really visual, so I was watching the X-Men animated series when that first came out. So I was trying to write like kid versions of the X-Men, and my family's really big on Stephen King, so I was watching Stephen King movies and reading Christopher Pike horror books, so I had thrown myself into that a little bit. So but for the fantasy side, just reading things like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Lord of the Rings, Fractured Princess specifically. I was actually playing Final Fantasy when I was writing that. So that was a big influence as I was writing that.
You mean a video game? You were playing a video game as you...
Yeah, I was playing Final Fantasy 9 and 10 at the time. So there's a lot of homage and influence for that.
I love it. Well, you know what? But see, you know what? Now that's something that I know we don't really talk about, because everybody talks about video games being an influence or being a wrong type of influence. But as you said, you never know where, things like this will take you. And as you said, you're a visual person. So as you're sitting here playing, you know what, man, I can write a story about XYZ as I get through this level, to the next level or what have you. I just came up with a whole story by myself.
Right.
All right, now I like that. But man, look here. I have a thing called TAOS, TAOS. And it usually stands for like plays and stuff. So it stands for thinking actors or actresses on stage. So when, I hear something like this or what have you, I'm like, oh, okay, she's a thinking author on a system. There it is.
Oh, cool.
Right. Video system. Boom. I just made something up. There you go. Yeah. But now let me ask about representation, especially when it comes to like, people of color, especially Black women, what have you. How important is it to you to have relatable characters in your stories?
Yeah, it's super important, because growing up, I didn't have any. So, outside of Storm, I didn't see any like Black women superhero, and Eartha Kitt's Catwoman. But other than that, I didn't see any other Black influences in fantasy. We did have, Whoopi Goldberg and Nichelle Nichols on the Star Trek side for sci-fi, but for fantasy, it's very white dominated. So it wasn't until I found Octavia Butler's books and N.K. Jemisin's books that I realized I can do Black main characters, and I'm Black, so why aren't I? So that it's really big and important for me to, especially now that I'm getting older, to show younger writers that we can be in these stories, especially for fantasy, because a lot of people don't see fantasy as something that Black people can read and do.
Well, let me just say this, especially like you just said a name, Octavia Butler, okay?
Yeah.
Parable of the Sword and part 1 and 2. That's like, automatically, that's what comes to my mind, basically based on everything going on today in the world.
Right.
Like, that book fits right in, just being like an educator, I try to teach, life lessons out of like certain books.
And those were before her time. Like, she was a writer before her time, totally, with that one.
So you're on to something. Okay, let me just say that you are on to something. So I just love it. Like, I love the influences. And
Yeah.
I think everything that you said is correct, because you have to be able to see yourself in things like this in order to have a clear, vision and a clear concept of, what it is
Right.
you want to do, also of the world as well. So, okay. All right. Now, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but we're going to, touch on it a little bit more. But now, like, what are like some tips for young authors who are having like second thoughts about self-publishing their books? Because as you said before, you spent time trying to get stuff published, but it was like very turbulent, up and down, up and down, up and down, until like, you know what, I'm just going to self-publish it myself. But now we have like authors coming out, the up and coming, authors, who are probably like, well, man, I can write it, I just don't think I can publish it. What would be some tips or advice that you would give to them?
One of the first things, because I see this, it's a big mistake I see a lot of self-published writers do, is you have to find an editor and a proofreader, because there's a stigma with self-publishing that it's basically people who don't know how to write just putting their stuff out there because they had an idea. And there are writers out there who can write, they just need someone to help them structure it properly. So first thing first, do that. And then just know that when you're self-publishing, everything's on you. Marketing, connecting with people, there's no team behind you to do that. So just be prepared for the work that you're gonna have to put in when you do it.
Okay. I love it. So hey, there it is, people. Man, for my young authors out there who are thinking about self-publishing, editor, and what else do you say?
You're put in that work and get prepared for the work you got to put in.
Okay, just prepare for that work you got to put in, okay? It doesn't mean that, hey, I don't know how to write or I don't know how to do this. You're just taking matters into your own hands, but,
right.
Just be professional about it, because you want to put your best product and sell forth when you're doing your tech. All right. So let me ask now, you have Fractured Princess. Are there any plans or any ideas on making like a book adaptation movie? Are we going to see this on Netflix? Or we going to see like the illustration, maybe a cartoon or what have you?
That's always a wish of mine.
Okay.
I was actually in writing for film and television in school for a year. And so again, I already said I'm visual. So the book is very visual. And I'm always just thinking about anime. As I was writing, I was like, this actor could play this person, this actor could play that person. But who knows? Hopefully, maybe.
Well, I hope so. No, I mean, because I love the concept, as we said before, we need more. Like every time I look on Netflix and they have fantasy and sci-fi or what have you, I can't, oh God, the series is leaving my brain right now, but one of Netflix's biggest series is like a fantasy series. Oh God, I can't think of the name.
Yeah. So there's a few of them. The Witcher, I know that one was one of the most recent.
Stranger Things, I believe that's what it is.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And that was, I love that.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
More of us though. We need our own version of Stranger Things. And I believe we can have that. And so like I would like to see more projects like that come to life, because I believe there needs to be more stories told,
right.
from our, point of view, our standpoint. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, Ms. Debra Renee Byrd, let me ask, if people want to get in contact with you, if they want more of your work, they just want to see what's going on with you, how can people get in contact with you via social media or email?
Yeah, well, I'm on just about everything. My Gmail is Debra Renee Byrd without the RA, just Debra Renee Byrd at Gmail. I'm on Twitter and Tumblr as Deb the Author, and then Facebook and Instagram as Debra Renee Byrd.
Okay.
And I have a blog called The Right Mage, like writing, therightmage.com, where I try to post weekly. It doesn't always happen, but I usually have something up.
Okay. Hey, look here, people. Get in contact. Reach out. I mean, if you want to know more, you have to reach out. You have to ask. You have to engage. Yeah. So I'm with that. So now, man, we have come, ironically, to our very last question of the show. But I'm going to ask this question because this is what my show's known for.
Okay.
Debra Renee Byrd, what is the one word that best describes you and why?
Ooh, I've been trying to think about it since I saw the question. I would say, dreamer. I'm just, yeah. Okay. I'm a daydreamer. I'm really, what do they call it? I'm introverted. So, you know, I think a lot of writers are. We just like to daydream, and a lot of my stories come from dreams I've had, and it's just a big part of who I am.
Okay, well, I'm going to use a word that we previously used, visionary.
Oh.
You have to have the vision in order to make, well, I mean,
yeah.
You have to have the vision to create. It has to come from a thought. You have to put it down, like, you know, on paper, or, you know, you have to put your plan together and then execute that and then bring forth, you know, the final product. So
yeah, all
that starts with like the vision. So that will be my word for you. Vision.
That's cool. Thank you.
You are look here, you are most welcome. And, you know, I just thank you for coming onto the platform, blessing us with, you know, everything that's going on with you. And look, man, come on back in the future. You know, you have other things going on. We would love to have you back and be a guest on Word with Ty Brownlow.
Cool. Looking forward to it.
No problem. No problem at all. Look here, we're going to treat you like family around here, okay? Good family. Good family. Oh. Bad family. We're going to treat you like a good family around here, okay?
Yeah.
But, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Word with Ty Brownlow. I have been your host, Ty Brownlow. Remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Word with Ty Brownlow, or you could just go to my website, tybrownlow.com. Definitely getting this interview plus other great interviews. It's Debra, Renee, Byrd. I thank you for being a guest.
Thank you.
We are out. Peace.